No
It's
doubt, no
all
doubt. But yeah, man, we're here with Mr. D. Bradley, a former BET producer, and I'm going to let him, introduce himself and give, the other companies and places that he worked for, and what he's doing right now. So, without further ado, please introduce yourself, Mr. Bradley, and we'll go from there. Yes, sir.
okay. My name is David D. Brad. I'm known as D. Brad. My name is David Bradley. My students know me as Mr. Bradley. In the entertainment industry, I went by the moniker D. Brad, which is just David Bradley condensed. Geez, what did you ask me to tell you?
No, I was saying introduce yourself. You know what I mean? That's all.
Oh yeah. Former producer for BT from 1999 to 2001, the first couple of years of Rap City The Basement. I co-created along with Uncle Luke from Two Live Crew, Spring Bling. I'm a Philly cat, hung out in Philly, grew up in Willingboro, New Jersey, but hung out in Philly. So from like 99 to 2002, a lot of the Philly artists you saw, that was me, whether it was, I think the one hit Major Figures had with Gilly the Kid. I was playing that video all the time. I put Beanie Siegel on mainstream television for the first time. Him and Freeway. I put Eve on mainstream television for the first time. And just on and on. I've been fortunate and blessed to have done a lot. I was Dave Chappelle's stand-in, and second assistant director the first season of Chappelle's show. Hell, wow. I was even on the Emmy-nominated set design team on the original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which was like the highest rated reality show on television. Jeez, worked stunt unit on Spider-Man 2. I've done a lot, bro. I've done a lot. I can't even recall. I'm probably missing some like really cool things I've done.
What were your official titles at BET and with some of the Philly rappers? What were you, the producer, the executive producer? What was your official?
Most of my Rap City work, Spring Bling, the artist, introducing Trina, and introducing Soleil. I was a production assistant, B. I wasn't no producer.
Oh, wow.
This was everything I did was like a 2-year supernova. Okay. I was a PA and then went from production assistant to producer when they moved to New York.
Oh.
So I got a promotion from PA to straight to producer. But I had done enough for BET where they saw Spring Bling was originally Rap City Spring Bling. And that's the story how that came about. But anyway, it's another time.
So like, did you go to school for this? How did you end up, with BET? Can you walk us through that whole process? Like what inspired you to even get into that?
I used to be in the house music scene in Philly. I used to go to Baseline, 12th and R Street in Philly. And we used to battle the Fresh Prince's dancers, Wayne and Omar. So I got in the house music scene. Then we graduated from Philly, moved up to Newark, to Club Zanzibar, then into New York, Sound Factory, Shelter, which didn't even close until like 2 o'clock the next afternoon. And when I was in college, I would meet dancers for Mariah Carey. So one of them talked to me about how it was to be on a video set. All the guys are her old Dream Lover video. It's like her second album, I think it was. And I was lazy in college, but in college we had myself, a gentleman that works at BET, and a brother Eric Parker who did the Nas documentary. They had a radio show, and then we also at the same time had a video show. And I was president of the college center board, so I was kind of in the know of who's who and what's what, and who to bring to campus. And my mother always told me I was lazy and I didn't want to work hard. And one day, by the time I hit my junior year, I was like, shit, she was right. So I literally sat down on my bed in college and was like, what do you want to do? I said sports, but wasn't going to play basketball, even though I was 6'3", wasn't doing that. And then sports medicine was too much. Then I remember my main man from Zanzibar who was in the Kara's One video. So I was like, damn, TV. And I just had to find the right thing. And then he told me he was a production assistant. He told me what that was. And then I was into acting. And I got cast to play one of the lead roles in Spike Lee's He Got Game. But the problem was, I forget the brother's name. It was Ray Allen and then his little cousin. But the problem was Ray Allen's 6'4", I'm 6'3", so Spike, it didn't work out for him, the height differential. And I think there's a known actor that actually got that part. But long story short, since I didn't get that, the talent agency sent me to do New York Undercover, where Tommy from Martin was playing his first season, and I ended up being Tommy's stand-in. And then being on the set in the truck with Malik Yoba, he was a little jerk off because he got mad at me because he tried to tell me Stephon Marbury was better than Iverson. And because I didn't agree with him, he just stopped talking to me. So I'm sitting in the truck with this nigga for an hour and he not talking. So I just got out and started paying attention to who was who and what's what, found out what a production assistant was, ran up on casting, told me what it was. Then I ended up going to King University, getting an internship my junior year with an independent film director who had robbed these producers of a lot of money. And I noticed because he told me before he beat it out of town, he left me in the office with all the producers and nobody knew. I was the only one that knew what was going on. And then I ended up talking my way into MTV. And that's the story in itself, how that even happened. So I talked my way into MTV because of God. We were going to me and my friends the year before went to the Freaknik. On the way coming back, this is 96. I'm like, yo, we need to get MTV to come with us. But then all the recklessness that was going on, I didn't want to have to explain to white America what they were watching. So, but then my homeboy tells another kid who was interning at MTV, he tells him MTV comes to my campus. But that same year before, another young lady I knew a dude who worked there. She mentioned his name. He had a weird name. As I'm walking through campus with the same woman, she points him out like, yo, that's so-and-so. I can't believe he's here. I run up like, yo, my name is D. Brad. I'm an intern. He was like, yo, man, come to my office tomorrow. And that's how I got into MTV. So then I would intern at the Beach House. And I would intern at VH1 where I met Justin Timberlake before NSYNC blew up. He told me this was going to happen. And because they stuck me with him because nobody cared about him and I was a young intern, and they was like, go with him. And him and I ended up vibing, and he was like, yo, man, I got this group in sync. We're going to be huge. And then after that, I'm going to go solo. And I'm like, yo, all right. I'm listening to the kid like, yo, dog, you sound like you know what you're doing. So that's how I got it in there. Then from there, I'm interning at MTV. Eric Parker from the Nas documentary, he's interning at BET, but he's trying to get into the Source. So he calls me like, yo, why don't you come party, come hang out? And he says, as a matter of fact, they're looking for a production assistant for this new show called By the Book. I sent my stuff. The VP liked it. Next day, I get a call from her, and they're like, it's Wednesday. They're like, well, can you get up to, and we all had just graduated college. They was like, it's Wednesday. Can you be here by Friday? And I'm like, what? But just so happened, I had a cousin that lived in D.C. that went to Howard. And I went and stayed in the Motel 8 for about a week and then ran into my cousin. And from there, it was on and popping.
Dope. So throughout your journey, God was telling me that you work with a number of artists. You named some Philly artists, but you also worked within Rockefeller, if I'm not mistaken.
I didn't work within Rockefeller. No. What happened is that when Rap City, like nowadays, when you look at television and film, it seems like radio and television is in sync with one another. But when I was there from 98 to 2002, we were still, radio and videos played differently. So although certain Rockefeller songs, Def Jam would be like, hey, play Big Pimpin', and then play Hard Knock Life. I think it was Hard Knock Life, and then maybe it was Big Pimpin' at the end. The videos in the middle was up to us to play. So we didn't like it. We didn't play it. So what happened is, really, Rockefeller should thank the whole Rap City staff, starting with Melanie Massey, because she was the only one, like, whenever they would come, and it would be Dame, because he's an asshole, we would send Melanie to him. Melanie, go. Dame is going. Go talk to him. Nobody wanted to deal with Dame Dash in Rap City. So we would, and I wrote about that in my book, BET, D. Brad and Me in 2007. I said if Dame falls, as brilliant as he is, because he was such an asshole at the top, a lot of people was gonna try to kick him when he was down. I predicted. I saw it coming. But brilliant man, knows exactly what he's talking about. It's just that he's a bit of an asshole. So we played a lot of the videos. Like we would play videos like, what's that? Money, Cash, Hoes, Money, Cash, Hoes. I played that all the time because I was doing the mixes, and I knew MTV was watching because the year before MTV, when I was over there, every day at 4:00, they would all sit and watch Rap City. So one day I asked them why. They said, because this is how we tell what rap videos are hot in the Black community. So the next year I'm at BET on Rap City, I know this science. So I'm playing niggas because I know MTV cats are watching, but they don't know that I'm at BET. So Rockefeller Records, yeah, they really should thank the Rap City staff. They owe Rap City staff a lot. Snoop owes the Rap City staff a lot. I can name a lot of rappers that if it wasn't for the Rap City staff, nigga, you wouldn't be where you at. Lil Wayne, Snoop, Rockefeller. I can go on and on and on.
You say that they need to thank a lot of people. Who in particular are they thanking, and who should they be
Craig
thanking?
Henry. Craig Henry, who was a senior producer who, and it's funny because the people that I'm about to name do not fuck with me because of that sexual harassment joint. But Craig Henry, brilliant brother. He directed Craig Mack's Flavor in Your Ear, and he was with Puff. He was under Puff, and he hates Puff. His Puffy stories are hilarious. Greg Butter Trent, Melanie Massey. There's one producer I'm not gonna mention. Myself, Alex Jones, Shazik Walker, and even the people before us, Robert White, Eric Watson, Mercedes Funderburk. A lot of these cats owe Rap City, like, yo, I owe you my whole life and career.
Right.
And Steven, and guess what? The person that sexually harassed me, that vice president, Stephen Hill, because he allowed me and us to do the things that we were doing, because he could have shut it down and said no. Right. So that shows you how, so just dropping that dude's name and saying that, I just want the audience to know, because when we get into me being sexually harassed, this shows that a man that is healed from past wounds, because I can say that and it doesn't bother me.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. You talk about being blackballed, you know what I mean? And
I don't call it that. I shouldn't call it. I don't like to use that term.
Okay, well, could you get into a little bit of what happened if you're comfortable with the whole sexual?
I wrote a book about it. I've lectured about it for years, of course.
Absolutely.
Long story short, I was an asset. I explained when I used to lecture. Most people are not an asset into a company. They're spoken of will. They come in every day. You're paying for them. Lunch, blah, 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 blah. I was a guy that when I created Spring Bling, it made BET millions of dollars every year in revenue and sponsorship money. I am now no longer a spoken of will. I'm an asset to the company. When you become an asset to a company, the same way being a teacher, I tell people that with a kid that's the valedictorian, they know the school superintendent, they know the school board because they're invited. The C student don't know nobody. They just come to school and do what they do. You feel where I'm coming from?
Yeah.
So I was invited into this world, and also at the time, like, I had friends. One of my daughter's godmother is an actress who's on TV on a regular basis. Matter of fact, she's in some show with Reese Witherspoon and Kerry Washington playing right along next to them. So she's always on TV. My daughter's other godmother is in the Basketball Hall of Fame. I'm just not naming their names, but you would know them if I said it. And so I was always in that circle. So it just reached a point that the things that I was doing with Eve was my first muse. And I used the science of knowing that MTV execs were watching BET to push Eve in a different manner, because when she first came out, she was a pit bull in a skirt. They had in football jerseys and Timbs. And I would say this, and Eve was sitting right there, and she would have to correct me. But I was the one that went to Rough Riders and said, yo, don't come here. I said, yo, she's from Philly. I was a Rough Riders Eve producer because they all knew I was from the New York, Philly area. And I used to rep Philly hardcore. I'm not even a New York fan. I'm a Philly guy. I'm a Philly cat. I love Philly. So I used to rep Philly hardcore in the South Jersey and Philly. So whenever Eve would come, I used to be like, yo, I know girls like her. I used to hang out on South Street. I know exactly what to do. And then we flipped it. And that's when that Scorpion persona came about. Because I said, we're always going to portray you as sexy. And I said, you do your thing, Eve, and on my thing, because I know MTV's watching. I'm going to keep doing it. And I told her she was going to be a star. We were in Philly at an event. It was me, her, Beanie Siegel, because none of the other BET Rap City hosts could come to this event. It was I don't know if it was a Power 99 it might have been one of their big concerts. And I had Eve and Beanie Siegel co-hosting Rap City. And I told Eve that night, you're going to be a fucking star. My exact words. And she looked at me and said, you think so? I said, I know so. You keep doing your job. I'm going to do what I'm doing on my end creatively. Watch him. You see me, don't even say nothing. Just give me a hug. 6 months later, she happened to be going to tape another show, but she walked into the wrong building. She saw me. She looked at me, looked at her. We hugged. I said, I told you. So that was what I was allowed to do. But I was allowed to do it through a process called, mixing the show, where you had to go on the studio on the technical side, and you had to take the segments of Rap City and put them together with the commercials, because commercials are a lot. Networks pay a lot of money for these, get paid a lot of money for these commercials, and this thing called a Q tone that you have to nail it right on the head. So for anyone out there that wants to try to say that to deny me, I just got crazy technical on you, and therefore you can't even front that I know what I'm talking about. So, but doing the mix is very boring because you actually have to sit through the whole 2 hours of the show. But I am married to videos in, but I saw the power in that. And we had a video programmer named Greg Diggs, super Christian. He didn't like to touch rap videos. So he would say to us, just don't be too raunchy. But nobody wanted to do it. But I saw the power in it. Because I realized, like, yo, I'm going to just play what I want to see. And that's what I would do. So from 1998 to about 2000, 4 times out a week, you were just watching what the hell I wanted to watch. So if I wanted to see Redman's I'll Be That every day, I was playing it. And that's what I did. That's how I helped that video blow. And I ended up being cool with X, but I didn't realize, but that wasn't the correlation. So I would just get cats booked on Rap City, and I would just do the mixes. I did the same thing with Cameron and Dipset. I like to think Cam, too, that he might remember, go, yo, he did that. Cam wasn't on a label. I would just get him booked on Rap City The Basement, and I would say, yo, Cam, just talk that shit. Because MTV and them is watching. So if you look large on here, they going to think we need in on this. And he came to me and told me, he had an idea called about the diplomats and blah, blah, blah. And I said, all right, my nigga, say no more. You want Rap City. And every time he came, I would make sure that it looked like he was doing the most major shit. And it went for it. So I had a lot of influence, a lot. And there's a label rep named Aisha Winfield that could verify these stories because she was his rep at the time. If I'm correct, it was Epic Records. So I was blessed because people were being lazy. And I saw the power in what I was able to do.
Right. Now, you dealt with a sexual harassment case.
It wasn't a case. Wasn't a case.
Well, go ahead.
No, I called him on it. So going back to all of those, so now you're seeing all of this, and now you have this guy who's the former president of BET. You know, they started taking me out, and they would do things like give me gifts, like, you know, give me my first pair of Jordans was from BET. Because I never grew up a Jordan fan. I was as a Sixers fan. Charles Barkley was my guy, so I never had Jordans. Wasn't interested, and so that was the first pair I ever had. And they would take me out, and the president and his right hand man, who's happened to be one of R. Kelly's homeboys, they would wine and dine me. But what they didn't realize was that my homegirl at the time was on Power 105.1. So all these parties you taking me to, bro, I've been here. I've done that. I done messed with these model chicks. I done did all of this. I'm not a drinker. I smoked weed at the time, and everybody knew that, but they would try to get me drunk, try to kind of get me out of place. And then finally, the last night, I'm with the dude, the video programmer, the former president of BT pulls up in a white stretch limo. It was his birthday. We go to Jimmy's Uptown. We up there, and this is you're talking 2000 now. We're up there, and we go in the back room, and there's Derek Jeter, Fat Joe, Angie Martinez, stars all over the place. But again, I'm not impressed because I've been around it already. You dig what I'm saying? In my personal life. And that's what I'm telling them, like, dog, I've done this. But the president was basically had me following him like I was his date. And it was weird to me. But I'm like, it's my boss, which is a mistake a lot of women make in the workplace. I said, it's my boss. It's some creepy shit, but it's my boss. Not realizing that don't no boss in any line of work have the right outside of work to press you to do shit. You feel where I'm coming from?
Absolutely.
If I work 9 to 5 at 5:30, you can't ask me nothing and then go, you're going to pay the price when you show up to work tomorrow. That's totally unprofessional.
Yes, sir.
So, but my mind state was that's my boss. And then we leave Jimmy's, we jump in the limo. He sends his main man out. I'm about to hop out when we get to 106th and Park because the video programmer lived like on 103rd or something like that. He's like, nah, come in. It's getting weird. He's staring at me. And then and then I kind of start looking out the window and I see this man put his hands in between. He starts to rub his thighs. Now I remember in college, I had a homeboy that we would all be together and he would just get comfortable, put his hands in his pants. I just never shook the nigga's hand, but I never felt uncomfortable. Right? You feel where I'm coming from? I never felt uncomfortable. I just like, yo, you nasty nigga, I will never shake your hand. Word is born. I was in the house music scene. You don't get any gayer than the house music scene.
Fact.
I never was approached. I knew some of them gay dudes and we was cool. And I was never uncomfortable. You can't be homophobic and be in the house music scene. It don't mix.
Mm.
That is the first time in my life around another man that I felt that uncomfortable. Like, I done played sports and I'm looking, and it is funny because as I'm sitting there in my head, I'm thinking like, yo, is this how I be looking at girls when I be wanting some at the end of the night?
Mm.
It was some creepy shit. So I said, that's why I tell women like, yo, that night I got it. Like, oh shit. Like, cause in our minds as dudes, we think we looking real like, sup, baby? Nah, to the women, we look like a bunch of fucking creeps. And I was like, yo, this is what I be doing. Cause, you know, as a young dude, you know, you take a woman out, you kind of looking like, yo, what's up? But I didn't realize, I said, this is what it feels like? This is some creepy, awkward shit. And then nothing, you know, I kept looking out the window. I see the dude out in the peripheral. I see what he doing. But you know, he tried to get me drunk. Wasn't working. I don't drink. I smoked. So it was like, nah, dog. And then I got out the limo on 34th and 8th at the Penn Station. I got the weakest handshake and the most disappointed look ever. And before that, when we were together with his other guy, the two of them had me sit in the middle. And I got one guy on the left, one guy on the right talking about something. You should join us, D. Brad. I'm like, us, nigga, us is BET. And they're looking at each other, shaking their head like he don't get it. And I didn't get it. Who is this us? This us. D. Brad, come with us. Like, who the fuck is us? I didn't get it. I'm looking at BET, black people. This is us. But yeah, so that I got out that Friday night, weak handshake, a look of disappointment. Walked in Monday. My big area where my desk was now small. Paperwork that I had, it was like a straight espionage film. The shit that was going on. That they will make you think you going crazy. They will make you think you losing it. So yeah, it was ugly, and I stayed it, but then I left, and that's when I went to Chappelle's show and I worked in film production because my old boss, Craig Henry, that he told me, he was like, yo, you need to work in film and to really learn it, go grip some cables, go be a gaffer, go. So I've been camera assistant. So I'm killing it. I'm Dave stand-in. I saw everything that went down. Dave and Charlie used to school me to the game of comedy. Dave schooled me a year before he left. Dave stepped to me and told me some info that when he left, I said, oh shit, that's what he was talking about. I just never ever, this is actually my first time speaking about it. And I was like, oh shit, I get what Dave was talking about that day. So, but at the same time, the president of BET, Stephen Hill, would know what I was doing. So then I ended up coming back because they asked me to come back. And at that time, Director X, the director from Superfly, you know what I'm talking, who directed the Drake videos I had a show about a black TV station and all this shit that goes on behind the scenes. And he believed in it. So he put money out. He put like 10 grand in my hand, like, yo, shoot that shit. I did it. I was calling BET in the LA offices. The former president of BET got wind. That's why he brought me back, because it was gaining traction. I was gaining traction with this project. And so he called me back to work at the station and asked me to put my project on hold for a minute. I'm like, okay. And then once the show I was doing finished, he was then Reginald Hudlin was there. And anyone that knows me knows I'm a huge House Party fan. And Reginald Hudlin is like on my Mount Rushmore of black directors. Him and his brother Warrington, Robert Townsend, Keenan Ivory Wayans. And you know, as far as black comedy, that's my Mount Rushmore of writers. And he wanted to meet up with me, but the president of BET killed that. Then he took the show and had a young lady named Marcy Polanco come and tell me that I was getting budget money for it, but she didn't know that I was already talking to everybody from LA and knew that LA was saying we're not ready for something like that just yet, but they wanted to work with Little X, with Director X. So Steven took the show from me, and again, it's my boss. I'm listening against my knowledge that I know better. I'm listening to him going, I got you. Don't worry about it. And the next thing you know, my shit was dead in the water and I'm lashing. And that's what caused me to lash out, was the fact that he killed my meeting with Reginald Hudlin. And then he took a project that someone put money in and he killed it to an extent where I didn't know what to do. So at that point, I was ready for war.